So between 2016 and 2017, I experienced 13 deaths. I had to redirect how I grieve. It helps for me to hear their voice again, hear their laugh again.
What was it that ultimately planted the seed for this business?
I had to teach people how to cope. Coping is a skill, and you have to figure out which coping skills are going to work for you. And then it dawned on me, like, this is something that's needed. People need to be able to hear their loved ones in the present.
Welcome to a new episode of Leverage You podcast. I am your host, Casey Ferrand McGee. I'm the founder and CEO of CFM Media and the Leverage You Academy. And today I'm bringing on a guest who actually works very closely with me. She is a communication strategist with my company, and she started a new business venture. So I'm so excited to support her on this journey and also bring her to you so you can learn much more about her and her journey. So, there are some businesses that start because someone spots an opportunity in the marketplace. And then there's other businesses that are born from something much deeper, from lived experiences. And that's exactly how Nicolia start her business. Nicolia Stephens is the founder of the Remembrance Collection, a personalized legacy video service helping people preserve their voices, wisdom, stories, and messages of love for the people who matter most. Nicolia's journey to creating this business is incredibly personal. After experiencing profound loss in her own life, her own family, she discovered just how valuable the voice messages and personal mementos that were left behind by her sister became to her healing process. And that experience eventually led her to a bigger question. What if we could become more intentional about preserving those things before they're gone? So today we're talking about grief, entrepreneurship, storytelling, legacy, and what it looks like to leverage what you've lived through to create something that can serve someone else. So let's welcome Nicolia to the show. So thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor.
You're my second guest on the show, and I told them it was special for me to bring you on because you are someone who's working closely with me in my business, and I also understand the journey you're on and how important it is for this message to reach the masses, especially right now. So why don't you first just start by telling us what the Remembrance Collection is and who were you before this business became part of your story?
So the Remembrance Collection is a legacy preservation service. So what I do is I curate legacy preservation videos. And what that looks like is a personalized message that you would have waiting for your loved ones as a collection, because the point of it is creating a collection. You don't want to just do one. You can, but you want to be able to have a message. Like, let's say if you pass away, you're going to leave a message for your husband each anniversary. That way, when the anniversary comes around and he's struggling, wants to hear your voice, you can actually leave a message for him that will sit with him in the future with your voice, giving him a message on your anniversary day. And then the following year, the following anniversary, you will leave him another message. You can leave a message for your son on his wedding day or graduation day. If he's having a moment where he just needs some words of encouragement from his mother, these are things that you're going to set aside now and it'll be waiting for him. So that's what the Remembrance Collection is. Who I was before the Remembrance Collection is exactly who I am now. It's just a little different now, meaning I've learned to carry my grief. So before now, I'd say 2016 was the pivotal moment for me. So between 2016 and 2017, I experienced 13 deaths within a matter of a year and a half. And it was close people. So my niece was murdered. 3 months later, my sister and her unborn child were murdered. The following year, my grandmother passed. A month after that, my husband was murdered. 2 weeks after that, it was my father, and so on and so on. Cousins, great grandmothers, friends, you name it, I was going through it. And so I had to redirect how I grieved.
So obviously the story behind this business is deeply personal. I talked about that in the beginning too. Sometimes businesses are built out of seeing, a gap in the marketplace. Others are built out of personal experiences, and that's pretty much what this is for you. So what was it that ultimately planted the seed for this business to start?
There's a few things that planted the seed. One was the fact that I often record my calls because I'm a busy person. So even back when I was in college, I was working two jobs. I was on the go. I was volunteering. And so a lot of times I would handle business while I was commuting. So that was my time to return calls, my time to make calls, handle business. And I would do it in my car from one area to the next because I needed to be able to revisit the conversation and get the pertinent information. And so that habit, that action pivoted into me being able to revisit my last conversation with my sister, my last conversation with my husband. And it helps for me to hear their voice again, hear their laugh again, hear some of the things they were excited about or their goals. Like my sister had a certain goal that she was reaching for. And 2 days before she passed, she was expressing her excitement and how, hey, I want to move here. I want to move to Vegas with you. And this is what I want to do. And I'm looking forward to having my baby. Like she had it all planned out. And so I get to hear her voice again that way. But it's different because I'm still stuck with the memory that she's not here with that message. But imagine if I would have had something that's saying, "Hey Nick, I'm with you and I see you. I'm proud of you." Whatever. It would bring it to the day. Like it would bring it to the present moment.
Yeah. So when you talk about those messages and those personal mementos that your sister left behind, they seem to be have become treasured pieces of her that you keep with you. But when did you realize that this is bigger than something that's helping you? Other families need this too.
Well, I worked in behavioral health care management for years. And because the company knew what I had been through, they would often assign me people who were grieving. So I would do a lot of grief counseling with people, people who struggled to move forward. I don't want to say move on because you're not moving on. You're not letting them go. You're moving forward. And so I had to teach people how to cope. Coping is a skill, and you have to figure out which coping skills are going to work for you so you know when to employ them. And so part of the coping skill that I often would have people work on first is reframing. I would have them reframe how they thought about the particular death. Because if you are looking at the death as something you should be guilty about, so if you're living your life and you're enjoying a moment and you're smiling, and then all of a sudden you feel guilty because now you're living and your loved one's not here, you don't have to do that. And a lot of wives, I tell them all the time, your vow said, till death do us part. You're free. You're free. You fulfilled your covenant, you fulfilled your vow. However, you don't have to sit with the grief just to show that you love that person. We know you love that person. So we start with reframing. And so I realized after hearing people in session after session, all of them would say, I just want to hear his voice again. I just want to hear her voice again. I just want to hear her say this or hear her say that. And then it dawned on me like, this is something that's needed. People need to be able to hear their loved ones in the present so that they can have that. If that's going to be what helps put your spirit at ease, help you cope, help you heal, why not do it? Just bring it forward,
So
carry it,
if
use it,
someone
carry it.
says that they want to have this experience with you and preserve the story of their loved one, what does that process look like for them?
So first they could either email me at info@trcmemories.com or they can go to the website. They would create an account. They would complete the intake. They're going to enter um, who the message is for. They're going to upload videos, photos, no less than 10. The more, the better. And then I'm going to have a consultation with you. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to send you a guide where I coach you. So you won't be recording something and trying to figure it out, right? Because a lot of people, they don't really know what they want to say. They know they want to say something, but they don't know what they want to say. So I have to guide it and coach them into it. And then I prepare them for it. And then we go ahead and get it recorded. You just go ahead and talk directly to me as if you were talking to your loved one, and I put it all together for you. And then I upload it onto the portal, and that's how you start your collection. And you can decide to do one video at a time. You can purchase a package, but you're going to be able to sign into that portal and access those videos, or give it to your family member. You get the password, and they can access the video. So that's what it looks like. It's really quick.
It's something that strikes me about the work you're doing is that you're asking people to think about legacy before there's loss. And is there a resistance to having that conversation? Because talking about recording something for your family to have after you're gone requires us acknowledging that something that we all, don't feel comfortable with is death. And how do you help them rethink about that?
A lot of people view it as being morbid. A lot of people. People do not want to talk about death. They are not comfortable. And that can be seen in end of life planning, even. A lot of people are walking around with no life insurance because they don't want to think about it. And then they're leaving their family to foot the bill. There's a lot of stress surrounding the funeral and how it's going to be arranged and so forth. So look at this as part of an arrangement. This is an heirloom. This is a digital heirloom. So if I was to talk to somebody about this, look at it as the things that you don't want lost. A lot of our stories get lost. A lot of our family history and stories get lost. When the family historian passes away, you don't know anything. You don't know where you come from. You don't know where to start looking for your people. And there's a lot of people who are looking for relatives. Imagine, like, I didn't find out I had a brother until long after my father passed. Didn't even know there was a possibility. So just imagine if somebody leaves you something saying, hey, you know, you might not want to hear this, but you might want to check over here because you might have a long lost sister over here. There's things that you might learn. So I think we need to start preparing our family on how to cope with us or the loss of us when we're gone.
I think this is also a lot about, legacy and history preservation. And I think a lot of us assume, my children know my story. They've heard everything they know everything about me. What have you learned through this work about the things families wish they had captured?
I think that a lot of people think they know and they don't have any idea. Because a lot of times when even my grandmother, I find out things all the time when we have conversations because our conversations over the years have changed now that I'm an adult. And so I find out things about her all the time and just having a conversation. So imagine just having another conversation. But this time, because I'm preparing you for my loss, I might just be a little bit more open about some of the things I've experienced. And I might even let you in on a few secrets because maybe this is going to help you later on. So you can't assume that people know everything because it's impossible for somebody to know everything about you because we're always changing, we're always evolving.
Yeah, and I actually think back to when my grandmother passed in 2020. It was March of that year, and if you remember, that was actually right before COVID, like, put us all on lockdown. So we thankfully had an opportunity to have her her funeral in person, and she also was at my wedding reception in, November of the prior year in 2019. She was a flower girl for me, so I have those beautiful memories of her before she ultimately, quickly passed, from pancreatic cancer, and we only had maybe a week or 2 before we knew that this was gonna be happening. And I remember the week prior to her, I know I just wanted to sit down and talk to her. And she was very weak, and she was losing her strength really quickly. But one of the stories she told me was about when she was a student at Dillard University, and she was on the bus, and she was sitting on the front of the bus, and mind you, this was had to be in the 50s. I can't remember exactly when she went to she was born in 41, so she had to be, it was in the 50s, maybe early late 50s. So she's sitting on the bus, she's sitting in the front of the bus, and she takes that whites only sign and she throws it out of the window.
Mm.
And she went to jail. And she told us that the person who bailed her out was the president of Dillard University. She was in nursing school there. And had I not just had that conversation with her, I would not have ever known that about her. And it actually helps me see so much of myself in her, learning about what she went through and how um that experience maybe shaped her and her perseverance. And then the same for me, and like how I'm so against injustices and things of that nature. Like I believe in truth and fact and fairness. And so just having that opportunity to hear that story from her was so meaningful, because it's one of the treasured gifts that I have, to hear it right from her mouth. But having been through that loss, I understand exactly why I would have loved to capture that on video or even have memories, because she also, again, she passed right before I ended up. I was actually pregnant when she passed. So she thought I was pregnant. I ultimately had a miscarriage with that child. And so she didn't get to meet my son. And if she would have left a message to him, like I remember her even telling me before I met my husband, she was like, you don't have to wait to have kids. You don't have to wait to get married to have kids. She was trying to get some grandbabies out of me, but um, I knew she knew that my husband was coming, because she even told me, she's like, he's on his way. I was like, well, he must be crawling. So I ended up meeting him and having our child together. And those are memories that, I wish I would have captured for her to have with my son. But, I know this was born for you out of an idea from your own experience. That's one thing that you have brought into this. But I want to know, because I've worked closely with you on building this, but what was the point where you said, I'm going to turn that idea into an actual business? What did it when did it go from, this is something that somebody should do, to I'm going to do it?
Actually, it started as me doing just I had a nice gesture that I was doing for one of my best friends. So he and his family are very, very tight knit, very close. And recently, the patriarch passed away. I remember the day that he called me. I was actually on a little date in the park. I was, you know, getting my little boot up. I was in the park trying to get romanced, and all of a sudden I got a call from him, and he didn't sound like himself at all. And I've never heard him sound like this. We've known each other since we were like 8. And so he said, I got to talk to you about something. Just call me when you're free. And I said, nah. I called him right back. I said, no, you don't sound right. And he breaks out crying because his father just went into hospice. And I said, let me talk to your father. I want to do something for you guys. And at first, his father, he was very stubborn. He did not want to do it. So they had to talk him into it. And I said, Mr. White, you are loved, and your loss is going to be devastating, because he's very close to his wife, his children, his grandchildren. He was very hands-on, very present. He was at all the football games, all the basketball games, all the recitals, the track meets, all the birthdays, all the baby showers, you name it, he was there. And I know, because I was around for some of those. So I know this man. I've known him since I was a kid. I even wanted to capture his voice, and he was really funny too. Very humorous. Love to laugh, love to be included. So finally we talked him into do it, and I made 15 videos
Oh,
within that time that he was in hospice. He passed away a month later. So he recorded a special message for his wife, for all of his children, and each and every one of his grandchildren. So I made 15 videos and put it all together, graphics, music, transitions, you name it. It's a professional production. And the day of the funeral, I released those videos to his family. And I remember one of the granddaughters said, I listened to this 5 times already. This really just made my day and it just helped because she just looked at her grandfather in the casket. Her grandfather was her best friend. And now she gets to hear him whenever she's having a moment and he's telling her, "Hey, I love the way you love me. I love the way you love me. And this is how I want you to continue life. I want you to keep God at the forefront. I want you to do right by people. I'm so proud of you." And this is coming from his mouth and speaking to her in the present. So it's not the same as the old family videos where you're saying, "Hey, turn the camera off. I look a mess," or "Put the cake down," or "Hey, so and so." You got all these other people coming into the camera. That person's not talking to you in that memory. And you're just going to watch the video and be like, "Dang, they're not here." But imagine press and play and being able to press play whenever you're having a moment or needing to hear their voice and they're talking directly to you. That is how this was birthed. It was birthed by me just trying to help console my friend and his family. And then his mother said, this needs to be a business. And at first I was like, "Ah." And I'm like, you know what? New Orleans isn't being too kind to me right now. I think you're right. And me going through the depth, compounded depth of grief that I personally went through, and then also working in behavioral health care and um, doing, conducting grief counseling with other people, it just made sense because the Lord said he will make room for you. Your talents will make room for you and your gifts will make room for you. And so I feel like this is my gift making room for me and I'm blessing other people by doing it.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you this because if this were recording were part of your remembrance collection and someone you love was watching this video years from now, what would you want them to hear you say to them directly?
I'm a control freak. So we gonna record one right now. And you can play this at my funeral. Let's
Okay.
do it. Okay. Listen, y'all, you already know that I'm a realist and you better have on white today with gold trim. I don't want to see a splash of color. I will haunt you in your sleep if you don't do things how I want them done today. You know that I want an all white funeral. I want it catered. I don't want it potluck. I want a second line band at the end. This is a celebration because I'm a celebration. I know that I've blessed you all in some type of way because everything I touch, I bless. And just like I know me, you know me. So don't get in the pulpit trying to make it like I'm a Bible beater. We all know that I'm a spiritual person, but we all know that I also cuss like a sailor. I'm a realist. You know that. So get in the pulpit, tell the truth about me, go have some good food, and continue living this life. And whenever you want to hear my voice, just press play. I love you. I'm always going to be just a fingerprint away. And there's no need for you to go outside of this funeral, and go give yourself an aneurysm. I'm right here. I never left. I love you.
Aw, that was so sweet. I'm gonna make sure you have that specific piece for your remembrance collection.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was amazing. So it's just that easy.
It's just that easy. You just talk directly to them and be yourself. And I always say, like, don't wait till the very end. Don't wait till you're in hospice or you don't sound like you. Now, don't get me wrong. If you are in hospice and you're just now deciding, like, I think I need to do this, let's do it immediately. The minute you make that decision, I'm going to be there to capture it and go from there. But get it while you're still yourself. You still sound like you. Make it fun. I made one for my soror and she said she did it. We weren't even on the phone a full 8 minutes. The only reason we were on the phone that long is because we have a conversation. But her video was 3 minutes and I believe 45 seconds. And she did such a great job. She talked about memories they had together that he would remember. She dropped some gems in there for him to live by so that he could be what is it, upstanding individual. I think I'm saying it right.
Got it right.
Yeah, upstanding individual. She dropped her favorite Bible verse, things for him to live by, told him things that she was proud of. And everything was so beautiful. She called me crying. She said, "Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful." She said, "I felt like I was gone already." I said, "Well, sorry, you're not gone. Don't even listen to it again. Just hold on to it. I'm going to make sure that AJ gets it. So the day you move on, he's going to get it. If you decide you want to add on additional messages for him, you can. If you want to create it for your other grandchildren and your children, you can. And guess what? Before you know it, you're going to have a collection. Those are going to be your digital heirlooms, and your family is going to be able to cope with your passing a little bit easier because now they have something to look forward to. It's not just going to be memories."
So look, we have a couple minutes left. So I want to ask you just the title of this show in this podcast is called Leverage You. So I want you to take me back when you look at everything you've lived through. What do you know today that you could only know because you lived it? And how did you turn that knowledge into something that you could use to help someone else?
That's a great question. Well, I'm going to look at my experiences and what I know about God's plan and how he creates purpose over your life. I know that everything that I've experienced has been an allowance. And you and I have discussed this. I know we talked about possibly a book, and I said, I would name it The Allowance because we are allowed to experience what we experience to serve his purpose over our life. I know that everything I touch, I bless. And so if I'm leveraging me and I'm leveraging who I am, then I have to tap into those gifts, those experiences, and I have to share them with the world so that someone else can grow from it, be inspired, feel loved, feel encouraged. I know that I have that in me to do. And whatever means I can do it in, then that's what I'm going to do it in. And to me, that's what leveraging myself really is. It's just walking in my purpose, using my gifts, using my experiences, and sharing it, blessing others with it.
How are you leveraging you in this moment?
I'm leveraging me in this moment by just using what I have. No matter how small it is, I'm just using what I have. And it's gonna work. I know it's gonna work. It's just a matter of getting the information out. And that's what we're doing now. We're being strategic. We are sharing the information. We are showing people how it works. I have a video to make it make sense. All person would have to do is look at the sample video and say, "You know what? That's something I would want to do. I think I'm going to get my grandfather to do it. I think I need to get my wife to do this for me or my husband." I'm leveraging the little that I have right now to bless others and also hopefully bless myself and bless my family.
Well, congratulations on taking the leap of faith and pouring into others by being so selfless and giving up yourself. So thank you for being a guest. And I look forward to seeing this business grow, flourish, and prosper, and that everyone it touches also feels the intentionality behind it. So thank you for being a guest today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And y'all who are listening, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and make sure you're here for the next episode. We have some amazing guests coming up. Bye. This has been the Leverage You podcast with Casey Ferrand McGee, a CFM Media podcast production. Because your story is your strategy, and what you learned, lived, and overcome can become bigger than yourself. So own your story, amplify your voice, and leverage you.